My innocent-looking secretary secretly got pregnant with my child, and I had no idea. When I was preparing to marry the eyes of the Chin family, my little white flower of a secretary submitted her resignation, only to decide against it less than half a day later. For a moment, I thought she had fallen in love with me and couldn't accept the fact that I was about to get married. But then I heard her inner thoughts. Thank goodness, I'm secretly pregnant with President Fu's child. I can orchestrate a whole love-after-pregnancy drama. Yes, that's the plan. Run away with a baby. Make a powerful comeback a few years later. Once he sees the brilliant child I've borne him, he's sure to play the part of the domineering CEO who falls in love with me. I'm the CEO, not an idiot. I give her a job, and this is how she repays me. My little white flower secretary, Su Ruan, has been looking at me uneasily lately. I stared at her, my gaze sharp. Swan, are you hiding something from me? Su Ruan froze at the doorway, 1,000 different deceptions flashing through her mind in an instant. I heard her inner thoughts. I absolutely cannot let him know about this child. What if he makes me get an abortion? The runaway with the baby plan is only halfway complete. It's not time to leave yet. I have to leave a lasting impression on him, and then make my getaway with the baby. Yes, I'll request a long leave of absence first, plan a perfect departure, and then make my grand escape. But on the surface, she feigned composure and said, President Fu, I've finished my work for today. If there's nothing else, may I leave for the day? Oh, and President Fu? I haven't been feeling well lately. Would it be possible to take an extended leave? No, of course. I couldn't let her disappear from right under my nose, especially since she was inexplicably carrying my child in her belly. Although hearing her inner thoughts was too bizarre, I still believe that even heaven couldn't bear to see me deceived. Swan's inner voice sounded again. What should I do? If I take a long leave, what if he finds out I'm pregnant? You can do it, Swan. You have to stay calm. Even if you're pregnant, CEO Fu won't connect this child to himself. Running away with a baby is a must. I'm going to give birth to it and come back strong with the child in a few years. Su Ruan trotted out of the office. I rubbed my throbbing temples and made a call to my assistant. Yes, check the surveillance for that day. Also, check if Su Ruan has been to the hospital recently, and if it was the obstetrics and gynecology department and her recent attendance records. Also, who has she been in contact with lately? In short, I need to know everything about her. After all this, I leaned back in my office chair. What kind of mess was this? When did she get pregnant? I don't even remember when I slept with her. So, how could she be so sure the child she's carrying is mine? And she wants to raise it secretly behind my back to fight for the Fu family's assets in the future. Can't she just come to me now to negotiate a price for an abortion? I'm a little confused, but she must be after my money. When Swan came to work the next day, I took a good look at her. To be honest, I have a lot of employees under me, and I really don't care about how each one is doing as long as they can finish their work on time without making mistakes. But upon this observation, Swan Ruan was just too outrageous. She wasn't wearing makeup or high heels, very unlike a secretary, and she had already messed up 3 or 4 documents in the morning. If I didn't know she was pregnant, and strangely with my child, I would have fired her by now. She was playing on her phone and putting a thermos on her desk. She looked like she was here to cultivate her mind and body. Anyway, it had nothing to do with work. While I was processing documents, Swan sat at the secretary's desk outside the CEO's office. I deliberately left the door open. Swan didn't work for a single minute. Her thoughts clearly told me that her mind was entirely on the child she was carrying. I studied it for a long time yesterday. Based on CEO Fu's IQ, the baby born will definitely be a smart child. With a kid with an IQ of 180, I will surely become a winner in life. At the very least, this child can also make money to support me. No, the blood relationship is the strongest bond. CEO Fu will definitely soften his heart for this child and will also discover my good qualities. Should I go on a reality show with a baby or a dating show then? Anyway, I want the whole world to see the smart child I gave birth to. I was speechless listening to this. Where did she get all these fantasies from? Is her brain broken? Should I also check if her academic qualifications were fabricated when she joined the Fu Corporation? I called Swan Ruan into the CEO's office. I looked at her coldly. I'll give you one more chance. Confess yourself. If I find out, I will sue you. The documents in Swan Ruan's hands fell. I didn't. I'll say it again. Don't think about climbing the social ladder through crooked means. Even if you really plot something against me, I won't let you get what you want. I thought I had made myself clear enough for her to understand what I was talking about. This was the last shred of dignity I was leaving her. Sue Ruan's face grew paler and paler, yet she was still cheering herself on inwardly. At most, he can only know a little bit of rumor. It's impossible for him to have evidence. He's just trying to scare you, Sir Juan. First of all, he doesn't know you're pregnant. Secondly, it's impossible for him to know your plan to run away with the baby. She wouldn't say. I had no patience to play this kind of game with her. I walked up to Sue Ruan, blocked her path, and looked down on her. Pregnant? When did it happen? How did you do it? What tricks did you use? Sue Ruan was like a frightened little rabbit, leaning helplessly against the wall. How did you know? No, Mr. Fu, it was an accident. The corners of Sue Ruan's eyes widened as she stared innocently with her large, watery eyes. Perhaps she thought she looked innocent, but it didn't stir the slightest pity in my heart. I only felt a wave of annoyance. Shin Yu-chin in her high heels walked straight into my office and glanced at me. What's going on here? The way it looked, Sue Ruan was practically cowering in my arms. I quickly put distance between us. Secretary Sue, go and pour a glass of water. Yu-chin, come and sit. I bought you your favorite snacks. My family and Chin Yu-chin were old family friends. We were good friends and destined for a marriage alliance. Even without love, we were the best of partners. In fact, I was the one who asked Shin Yu-chin to come because she was also at the banquet that night. I have no memory of it. If Sue Ruan had a chance to succeed, it must have been at the banquet 2 months ago. That was the only night I was drunk to the point of unconsciousness. I woke up the next day in a strange place. I remember Chun Yu-chin walking in my suite at the time. How could Sue Ruan have gotten pregnant? The night of the banquet, I got drunk and was taken to the suite upstairs. Did you come in? Chin Yu-chin looked somewhat surprised. I had to leave early for something. Didn't I have my assistant tell you? My family's tactless, illegitimate son went crying to my grandmother again, so I went to deal with him. What's wrong? You got drunk? Don't you never get drunk? Who made you drink so much? My gaze darkened. I've been set up. It must have been Sue Ruan. When Sue Ruan came back from getting a cup of water, her face was still flushed, looking as if she had just been crying. Her expression was also unfriendly when she brought the water in and handed it to Yu-chin. Her hand trembled as she held the cup. As she got closer to Chun Yu-chien, she clumsily spilled the water on her. Chun Yu-chien flared up at once. Are you sick in the head? This outfit cost me 6 figures. Can you afford to pay for it? Swan looked at me feebly, tears welling up in her eyes. What's the use of looking at me? Between her and Chun Yu-chien, no matter the perspective, I would definitely be on Swan's side. Your entire bonus will be deducted and your salary will be used to compensate for this. Apologize to Miss Chun. Swan cried a river of tears. I don't have any money. CEO Fu, I'm begging you. You'll regret treating me like this. Sue Ruan's inner thoughts were making my ears hurt. He's bullying me now. I'll definitely make him chase me to the crematorium later. When he regrets it and comes to pursue me in the future, I won't forgive him easily. I'll make him chase me. Make him regret it. I know everything. What could I possibly regret? Am I an idiot? I wouldn't even make things difficult for Chun Yu-chien because of her. I won't regret it. If you don't apologize now, then go to HR and get your severance pay. Sue Ruan apologized reluctantly and awkwardly, and even Chun Yu-chien found it perfunctory. You dirted my clothes, and your apology is so awkward. If this were my family's company, you would have been kicked out long ago, I said to Chun Yu-chien. The secretary is insensible. I'll replace her. Shall we go to dinner tonight? Sue Ruan's face turned beet red. You can't replace me. You'll regret it. I gave my assistant a look, and he immediately took Sue Ruan out. It seemed I could hear every sentence of Sue Ruan's inner thoughts. She actually said, that vicious woman doesn't look like a pushover, so what if I spilled water on her? Just a vicious female supporting character. What kind of trouble can she stir up after I have the child, and CEO Fu falls in love with me? She will be out sooner or later. So what if they get married? A loveless marriage is destined to fall apart. Not gentle at all. What a tomboy. Swan had spoken so much ill of Chun Yu-Chi that my head was throbbing. What gave her such nerve? Thankfully, it was only said in her mind. If she had said those things right in front of Chun Yu-Chi, given Chun Yu-Chi's temper, she would have pulled out every single one of Su Ruan's fingernails. I suppressed the fury in my heart. The matter from that night hadn't been cleared up yet. Keeping Su Ruan right under my watchful, I was still the safest option. There was still some time before dinner, so I decided to tackle some work first. A CEO's life is an endless flood of tasks. I looked at the pile of documents on my desk, which showed no sign of diminishing. I had already made up my mind. After Swan was gone, I would definitely hire a professional secretary. Our corporation isn't a charity, after all. But Su Ruan couldn't even give me a quiet afternoon. She snatched a document that should have been handed over by another secretary and presented it to me herself. As she bent over, the lace trim below her neckline became visible. I was speechless. Shiny Chun had only just left. Did she really think something would happen between us in the office? Just how much of a desperate, lust-driven monster did she take me for? That I couldn't resist such a cheap temptation. I adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses on my face. Secretary Su, mind your demeanor? First, you're not dressed appropriately for a secretary. Second, what exactly are you doing right now? You haven't managed to finish processing a single document all morning. This is company time. If you're incapable of performing your duties, you are free to resign early. Swan once again put on that expression like she was about to cry, but holding it back. I was truly sick of seeing it. You can't treat me like this. I've been working very hard. I stayed up late working on these documents. They might not be perfect, but I try my best. She said it with such self-righteousness. For a moment, it almost made me think she was a fresh graduate, but she wasn't. She'd been working for several years already. I lifted my gaze and stared coldly at her, working very hard but failing at every task. Did you come to this company to be a princess? Even Chun Yuan had to return to the Chun Corporation and work diligently. What kind of princess did Su Ruan think she was? And stop thinking you can tempt me by wearing these kinds of flimsy clothes. There are plenty of women like you. I'm not some stud. Su Ruan bit her lower lip tightly. I understand. Once again, I heard Su Ruan's inner thoughts. The way he's mistreating me now, I'm going to write it all down in my diary. I'll make him pay for every bit of it later. How dare he talk to me like that? I went through so much to get close to him. It's not like I actually came here to be his secretary. But he really isn't easily tempted by beauty. He really has that abstinent, cold CEO vibe. I almost laughed, forcing the corners of my mouth that wanted to curve upwards to stay straight. I could see it clearly now. She didn't come here to be his secretary. She came to leverage the position for her own advancement. Mistreat? This was the first time I'd heard such a term. Was my behavior considered mistreating her? I picked up the document and started reviewing it, not giving her another glance. Remember the compensation. The company's legal and HR departments will speak with you. If Chinyakin is unhappy, then I am unhappy. If you don't compensate, I will have the court sue you. Swan seemed to want to say something more. That twisted look of wanting to speak, but holding back. I'd had more than enough of it. Shiny Chun and I had dinner at a high-end Japanese restaurant. She suddenly moved closer to me and said coquettishly, after having so many luxurious feasts, do you ever want to taste some plain congee and pickles? I can see that secretary of yours is very interested in you. She frowned slightly. You're a bit too lenient with her. Shiny Qian is very beautiful. She studied abroad with me, and she has great taste and a sharp mind. Of course, she is also very perceptive. It's also possible she has a mole planted in the food corporation. She would know at the first sign of trouble. I poured her a glass of wine. I know the difference between 1 billion and 100,000. Besides, we've known each other for over 10 years, not 10 days, right? Chin Yuqian took a sip of wine, swirling the red liquid in her glass. You better mean what you say. Chin Yuan's eyes can't tolerate a single grain of sand. If you don't handle it well, I don't mind handling it myself. Chin Yuan remained skeptical. There was no hiding it from her. I could only show her my stance. To think the president's secretary would harbor such thoughts. At this critical moment of my marriage alliance with Chun Yukian, she could not be kept no matter what. After she had eaten and drunk her fill, Chun Yukian nestled against me. You know, I hate illegitimate children the most. My dad's illegitimate children. I dealt with them one by one. What if you had an illegitimate child? Her hand traced a path down my abs. The marriage alliance won't be canceled, but the husband can be dealt with. I suddenly felt a sharp pain. I sped up the process. Soon, my assistant sent me the surveillance footage from that night. It was only from a hallway, but it was enough. I saw that after the waiter helped me into my room, Swan furtively took my coat and pulled a room key out of it. Entering my room without permission and impersonating Shunichi, I felt an indescribable sense of disgust and frustration. But even if I were that drunk, how could I have mistaken her for someone else? I told my assistant, go and check who touched my drink that night. And where did Secretary Sue get the illicit drug? The drink I had that night had hallucinogenic components. I summoned Sue Ruan to the CEO's office. I already know everything. You plotted against me. Get rid of the child, and I'll compensate you with a sum of money. Then leave the Fu Corporation permanently. Swan was dumbfounded. How did you know? I rubbed my throbbing temples, holding the surveillance footage. Secretary Sue, how do you explain this? Seeing this, Swan knew she couldn't hide it any longer. I was forced by you that night, Mr. Fu. I'm a victim, too. I went into the wrong room. Tears streamed down her face like a pear blossom in the rain. I went into the wrong room, and you mistook me for someone else and forced yourself on me. I'm already pregnant. My constitution doesn't allow for an abortion. If I get an abortion, I'll never be able to conceive again in this lifetime. Mr. Fu, I'm begging you. Please let me go. I will disappear from your sight and will never disturb you. Just let me give birth to this child, please. But her inner thoughts were saying, I can't let Mr. Fu find out I impersonated Chun Yukin that night, or I'll be seen as a scheming woman. Good thing I've rehearsed this excuse countless times. Mr. Fu won't find any flaws. Besides, there are no cameras in the hotel room. How would he know what I did? The corner of my mouth twitched and my gaze turned icy. There are 1,000, if not 800, women like you. Even if I were drunk, I wouldn't be interested in someone who throws herself at me. Get an abortion. It was never meant to come into this world with its parents' blessing. Out of conscience, I can give you a sum of money. I couldn't care less what Sue Ruan was thinking. I just wanted to solve the problem of the child in her belly. Unfortunately, Sue Ruan had no intention of cooperating. Swan was a bit stressed. Although I went to the wrong room that day, you can't prove that the child in my belly is yours. On what ground can you abort my child? Even for an abortion, the mother's consent is required. If I don't agree, how could you possibly get it done? I found it somewhat amusing. At this moment, Swan was much more serious and professional than when she was at work. I said to the assistant beside me, take her for a blood test, a DNA test. If it's my child, use some means to have her aborted directly. If it's not mine, fire her as well and make her leave permanently. I would follow the normal dismissal procedure and compensate her with a sum of money. If she cooperated, I could let go of the fact that she plotted against me. Swan was unwilling. She collapsed on the floor. You can't do this to me. I'm telling you, you will regret it. I'm carrying a boy, your first son. My voice was ice cold. There are many illegitimate children in wealthy families, but I don't like such things. She cried and screamed. Fumin, why are you so cruel to me? I truly love you with all my heart. I almost laughed out loud. Her way of showing her sincere love for me was to plot against me. I forced the assistant to take her to the hospital. She was unwilling, but I had 100 ways to make her willing. At the hospital, Swan obediently had her blood drawn under the assistant's watch. But when leaving the hospital, Swan used the excuse of going to the restroom, and the assistant never saw her again. The next day, Swan did not come to work either. When the assistant came to report, I was furious. Report her as missing. I don't believe a grown person can just vanish into thin air. When I couldn't find Swan through official channels, I gradually lost my patience with her. I dialed the number of the person who does my dirty work. 1,000,000. I don't care what method you use. Get rid of the child in her belly. Yes, I don't care what method. With Swan's disappearance, The company naturally had to fire her. I got a new secretary, and Swan's things were packed into a box by human resources. Just as they were about to throw it away, I stopped them and casually rummaged through it. Inside was Swan's diary. I took it out and told them to throw everything else away. What era is this? And people still write diaries. I remembered Swan once said she would write down everything about how I abused her in her diary. I suddenly had the urge to open it and take a look. I opened to the first page. Wow, the president is so handsome on the first day. I have to stay up all night to watch the domineering president fall in love with me. How can I make him really fall in love with me? His fiancée is so beautiful, but I'm so ordinary. But I am kind and innocent. He will definitely be attracted to qualities like mine. The first sin, he actually punished me for Chin-Yukian. He will definitely face retribution in the future. I must abuse him fiercely, get entangled with other men, and not live a happy life with him so quickly. Men, what they can't have is always the best. I turned around and threw this diary into the trash can as well. What is this idiotic thing? What does she mean by getting entangled with other men is abusing me? Has she really lost her mind? How could I have hired such an unprofessional secretary? I called human resources. Go find out who hired Su Ruan and dock all their bonuses. Really, managing such a large company and the people under me can't even give me a moment of peace. The night before I married Chin Yuqian, I confessed everything to her. Something like this, while not enough to shake the bigger picture, would inevitably become a thorn. If not dealt with, it would sooner or later embed itself deep in our hearts. If you hadn't said you would handle it yourself, I would have. I stroked her slender, long fingers, the kind that cost a fortune to maintain. I didn't want you to dirty your hands. Shiny palm cupped my face. I've said it before, the thing I hate most is illegitimate children. Those few in my family are either dead or crippled. Whatever the reason, their very existence disgusts me. Chun Yoin's methods were ruthless. I'd always known that. But if she weren't ruthless with a business as large as the Chun Corporation and with so many heirs from her father, it would have been torn to pieces long ago. Chun Yuqian buried her head in the crook of my shoulder. You're still too kind. If it were me, I would have forced her to have an abortion from the very beginning. Acting like this made me mistakenly think you wanted this child, which is why I didn't make a move. She lifted her head from my shoulder, her gaze sharp. My heart skipped a beat. Chan, you have to believe me. Didn't we swear to be loyal to each other? I was set up. Shiny Yu Qian snorted. Swearing has no legal effect whatsoever. If Odess worked, my father would have been struck by lightning 800 times by now. I had signed an agreement with Chun Yuqian. If we had a child in the future, he would definitely have the inheritance rights and stocks of the Fu Group. Chun Yuqian lacked a sense of security. Only an agreement like this could put her at ease. She happily gave me 2 kisses just like when we were studying abroad. She always said there was no love between us, only a revolutionary friendship. But I felt there were still feelings between us. At the very least, we trusted each other to a certain extent, and that was enough. Chin Yuqian was gorgeous, beautiful, and from a comparable family background. No matter how I weighed my options, I couldn't imagine not choosing a woman like her to be my wife and instead picking a little white flower who had nothing and only knew how to cry and feign weakness. Suruin had also disappeared now. The person who did the dirty work said it was handled cleanly. I didn't see it with my own eyes, but I secretly made a decision. If she really showed up with that child, she would get nothing. A few years later, Chun Yu-chin and I fought our way through the business world, the valuations of our 2 family enterprises rising year after year. Shin Yu-chin was also very satisfied with me as a business partner. She and I would travel twice a year to cultivate our husband and wife relationship. Our daily life together was harmonious. I respected her habits and helped her manage the Chun Group. She, in turn, would help me with resource integration and could adeptly play any role in any situation. Simply the most perfect wife. One night, she even proactively asked me, "Do you want to have a child?" I stroked her long, fine hair. Shinyu had spent a great deal of money on self-care over the years. Her entire body was fair and beautiful, just as it was back then. Although the freshness between us was gone, it had transformed into a kind of familial affection. Something like this is up to you. After all, having a baby means a year-long gap, which will affect you a lot. Chin stroked my chin. Are men really that indifferent about children? Otherwise, how come my father has so many? I suspect there are some he doesn't even recognize. He definitely doesn't remember them as clearly as I do. After all, I've registered all his illegitimate children and dealt with them one by one, not letting a single one go. The hand stroking my chin gradually turned into a pinch, her long fingernails leaving a mark. I repeatedly begged for mercy. I will definitely acknowledge the one you give birth to. We've signed the agreement. So, what if I really have illegitimate children? They won't get a single penny. You can have a baby whenever you want. We have our physical checkups every year. We're both young. Is it possible we can't have a child? But Chin still wanted to have one. Not long after, she became pregnant. The ultrasound at the private hospital showed it was a little girl. Chin was very satisfied. She must be like me, a little girl who is both capable and beautiful. I thought so too. If we had a little girl, she would definitely be like Chin, beautiful and capable. But I didn't expect it. The past had not been completely buried. Swan came to our door with a child. She didn't come directly to me, but to my parents. It was a boy who looked a bit like I did back then. My parents took one look at the child. He looks a bit like Fuan, doesn't he? Su Ruan's eyes were filled with tears. This is really his child. I had such a hard time raising him. My parents hesitated. Chin and I hadn't had children for a long time, and now someone had brought a child to our doorstep. This was the scene I came home to. The boy was causing a ruckus, trampling all over the six-figure sofa. Even the maids at home didn't dare to approach him. Su Ruan's face, which hadn't been well maintained, was full of world weariness. His name is Fu Seekin. He's your child, and he's exceptionally smart. He's a genius. He can definitely lead the Fu group to greater heights. I looked at the boy. Although his brows and eyes bore some resemblance to mine, his face was fleshy and his eyes were filled with greed for this life of wealth and luxury. I hadn't planned on acknowledging this child in the first place, and now I felt even more disgusted. I sat on the sofa and made my attitude clear on the spot. I won't do a paternity test, and I won't acknowledge this child. Get him out of here and send him back where he came from. My parents couldn't persuade me. My mom was still trying to reason with me. It's not like our family can't afford it. Wouldn't it be nice to have another child to keep us company? Besides, he's a boy. I frowned. She schemed to have my child back then with her own crooked mind. What good could she raise? Mom, even if Dad had an illegitimate son, he wouldn't be allowed in this house, would he? This one sentence made my parents' faces turn pale. My dad actually did have an illegitimate son whom my mom had dealt with long ago. Now that she was older, she wasn't as clear-headed. How could she possibly acknowledge him? Not to mention what Shinukian would think. I just felt disgusted looking at Su Ruan and her child. What's more, the food group was all under my management. My parents couldn't say much, so they had no choice but to let me throw them out. Su Ruan immediately broke down. She tugged at my mother's trouser leg, her gaze falling on the only person in the room willing to speak up for her. You can't do this to me. I'm going to take this child and die. Honestly, I didn't have a shred of pity for this child. What was the use of her threatening me with him? If you want to jump off a building, I'll help you call the police. If you want to take poison, I'll send you to the hospital. Just don't die in my house. Su Ruan was in disbelief. How can you be so cruel? How can you be so heartless? This is a smart boy, you know? No. It's because he has no feelings for me right now. If the child builds a relationship with him, he will definitely fall in love with me in the future. Fu Xian is so smart. He will definitely win Fu Min's affection. After a long time, I heard Su Ruan's inner thoughts again. I was truly speechless at how her brain had failed to develop after all these years. I don't like you, and I don't like this child. I will not acknowledge this child. If you want to raise him, then raise him. There weren't even any feelings between us in the beginning. It was all your own scheming. Saran, don't really take me for a fool. I already warned you countless times back then. Xinyu-chun was already pregnant. She couldn't be agitated by any news at this time. Hearing it from someone else would be even more upsetting. I saw her sitting on the sofa at home, poured her a glass of water, and then began to explain. But facing this child, Shin Yu-chun still frowned. Didn't you say it was taken care of? Her emotions had become more intense after her pregnancy, and now she was being a bit unreasonable. Illegitimate children have a legal right to inheritance. Fu Min, are you thinking of acknowledging him? My gaze met Chiny. I won't acknowledge this child, and there will be no money. Yukin, you have to believe me. I can write a will right now. Chun Yukian pouted. Then you should have just made her have an abortion back then. After all these years, he was stillborn. He'll be a problem in the end. I had someone take care of it at the time, and the methods were dirty. How could this child still be alive? At this moment, Su Ruan returned with the child, which surprised me a little. I called the person who handled it back then, and they swore that Su Ruan's baby had been aborted. After searching for a long time, they sent me a photo. Swan was lying on the ground, blood already pooling beneath her. Swan was kicked out of the Fu family and started a live broadcast that very night. She pulled the child in front of the screen. This is CEO Fu's child. Yes, we were truly in love back then. But later, he had to listen to his family and enter into a marriage alliance. This child, she hinted on the platform that the child had been taken back by the Fu family and that child support had been given. She also quietly revealed the amount of the child support because Chun Yukian and I had previously marketed ourselves as a loving model couple. She even caused a slight fluctuation in our two family stock prices. The rumors were flying outside. So, I told Chin Yu-chian to focus on her pregnancy. This is our little princess, and she will definitely grow up happy. Chin Yu-chian was particularly unhappy, and I had been trying to soothe her for days to no avail. You'd better be, or I have my ways too. I chuckled. Shun Yu-chian was always like this, always putting up a guard, always finding a solution no matter the situation. She would never be like Su Ruan, who only used tears as a tactic, unable to do anything right, which I found annoying. I thought of Su Ruan's child. What was his name? Fu Sikhen. He was both stupid and malicious. The last time he came to the Fu residence, Mom and Dad kindly asked him to stay for dinner. He kept snatching the lobster and king crab on the table, and later even stood on the table. Even that little bit of familiarity my parents felt for him was worn away. I've already figured out the gist of what happened back then. I have the purchase records for the drug, and Su Ruan's, and even a photo of her slipping the drug into the glass. This is the drug you put in my cup back then, which is how you got pregnant, right? If you use illegal means and insist on a paternity test, I will use this evidence to send you to jail, ensuring you and Fu Sikhen are separated forever. As for Fu Sikhen, if you end up in jail, whether he lives or dies. Su Ruan cried her heart out. Are you threatening me? Even a vicious tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. You know this is your child. Why won't you acknowledge him? Fu Sikhen looks so much like you. He misses his father. Can't we just be together? Even if you don't give me a title, I'm willing to be by your side. I sat aside, watching her coldly. This is the last time we will meet. If it weren't for this child, I wouldn't even be sitting here right now. I will not acknowledge Fu Sikhen, and you won't get a single penny. From now on, your affairs have nothing to do with me. If you had been willing to have an abortion back then, you would have received a sum of money. I sneered, insisting on giving birth to him. I really don't know what your intentions were. Su Ruan, what you did back then was a crime, and there can never be any love between us. Besides, why are you so sure this child is related to me? Weren't you forced to have an abortion back then? Su Ruan's face grew paler and paler. Finally, with a bitter smile, she said, He is your child. He was destined to be born from my womb. Those thugs were sent by you, Fu Min. How could you do this to me? Why don't you love me? We already have a child together, and we were once the closest CEO and secretary. Why can't you even look at me? Su Ruan cried like a delicate white flower fluttering in the wind. She tearfully recounted how she had almost lost the child and had to lie in bed for several months before finally giving birth. I suddenly realized that she didn't actually love Fu Sikhen either. What she wanted was just a ticket into a wealthy family. Now that her plans have come to nothing, she simply can't accept it. I warned her one last time, don't ever appear in front of me again. If you continue to pester me, you will spend the rest of your life in jail. Su Ruan bit her lower lip tightly. You are so heartless. Su Ruan's constant whining about love has grown tiresome to me. Does love make a business better, or does it just turn people into fools? Perhaps some CEOs would acknowledge an illegitimate child, but definitely not one like this. Conceived from a one-night stand, taken away, and now brought back with a pitiful act. Do they take me for a fool? I have publicly clarified that Fu Seekin has no connection to the Fu Corporation, and I will not acknowledge such an illegitimate child. All of my children will be born of Chun Yukian. This is not just about our affection, but also our intertwined interests. Our children will be born because we have carefully chosen each other. Who is Fu Seekin? He has nothing to do with me. It's up to Su Ruan whether she wants to raise him or not. Su Ruan has already disgusted me to the extreme, and by extension, I feel that Fu Seekin has long been ruined by his upbringing. The very sight of him is nauseating. Su Ruan placed all her hopes on this child. She had previously started live streaming and was publicly acknowledged by the Fu Group, gaining a high level of popularity for a time. A variety show approached her, and Su Ruan took Fu Seekin on the show with her under the high-definition camera. Her appearance had nowhere to hide. Fine lines were already visible at the corners of her eyes. Chun Yukian watched with great interest, often teasing me. Your son, your secretary. I couldn't help but have to coax her. I have no son, and even if I do in the future, he will come from your belly. Stop fooling around, Chanson. I'm very unlucky too. Okay, I'm also a victim. I really did handle it back then. I didn't expect her to insist on carrying the baby to term. My mind has been entirely on Chun Yukian's belly recently. I didn't expect Su Ruan to be so capable of stirring up trouble. Netizens have sharp eyes too. She looks like that and still dares to be a mistress. Honestly, isn't she 100 times less beautiful than Shiny Yuchin? And her child isn't cute at all. Is he so arrogant? Can we boycott a child like this for being on TV? Exactly. And he snatches other girls' toys whose glorious ancestor has arrived. With a stroke of my pen, I bought a few trending topics in the direction of their criticisms. Chin Yuchin even had a few more smiles on her face while scrolling through her phone. Not only that, but after Su Ruan left the variety show, she was taken away. Su Ruan's scheming against me affected our family stock. Keeping someone like that around is ultimately a disaster. Besides, she couldn't even raise her child peacefully and properly. Before Chinya could make a move, I sent her and Fu Hen abroad. Whether they live or die in the future has nothing to do with me anymore. I even think I was too kind to her. After being messed with by her this one time, Chin Yuchin no longer trusts me. I took away all of Su Ruan's assets. The money was just enough to compensate for the dress of Chin Yuchin that she had ruined. Without money and with a noisy child, Su Ruan's days abroad would not be easy. But what does that have to do with me? I wanted to say back then that the reason I am able to manage a corporation is not because of genetics, but because it was built up with countless resources. Chin Yuchin gave birth to a baby girl named Fu Qinyan. Whatever she wants in this world, she will get, and from the moment she is born, she will receive the strictest education. She will be the best heir. As for Fu Hen, whether he goes to college in the future, how he lives has nothing to do with me. When Su Ruan insisted on running away with the child and giving birth, I was not moved, nor did I fall in love with her. I only felt annoyed, and it's completely like a dark part of my history that disgusts me. At the beginning, I still had a little conscience and patience for a pregnant woman. I tried to reason with her to get her to have an abortion voluntarily, and I would provide compensation. Unfortunately, she repeatedly pushed the limits of my understanding and actually brought the child before me. Who says that just by getting pregnant and running away with the child, a wealthy family must recognize the child? What kind of ultimate fantasy is this?